line. So you're going to take and you're going to mark that line just here, and accurate. The accuracy must be exact the same as the center. All right. So while you're waiting, you can just check and see if the back needs to be done, and then when I'm finished doing the top, I'll do the back. Okay. After this, we're going to be marking and cutting the frets before we sand. So now what to do is we draw in, there's only one very long ruler, the other one's just a bit too short, so you use this one. And I want you to transfer that line back. Now you don't have to draw the whole way through, but what I do need is this to be, and take time and get this right, eh? This is important. I'll draw that line back on the neck, and I'll just draw a little bit up here. That's all. That is so that I can mark where to drill the holes. Okay. So I don't need it over here now. Right, so now what I do is we're going to mark off the frets. Okay, how does frets work? What happens on frets? I'm going through a lot of paper here. Right, so I have a neck on a guitar, and then I've got my instrument, and there is my bridge over there. So we have a thing called a scale length on most instruments, stringed instruments especially. They've got a scale length. That scale length comes from where my neck comes out. That is my nut. Okay. It's got little slots in there for the strings to go over. From that point there to the saddle, because I've got my bridge over here, which will look like something like whatever on a normal instrument, and I've got a saddle over there, and then I've got my holes at the back there where the strings go in. From there down to there is the scale length. Okay, so scale length is the distance. On a steel string, normally the 14th fret lies on the body of the instrument there, and then they carry on. And on a classical guitar or a shorter scale length, we rest on the 12th fret. Now, whatever the scale length is, we will always have a middle fret, which will be normally the 12th fret on an instrument. Someone long ago worked out that if you divide it by 17,816 recurring is the division. So what we do is we take our scale length and divide it by that number, and that will give me fret number 1. Okay? Then what I do is I take the distance from that fret to there, because the new measurement, and I divide it by that, gives me the 2nd fret.
That's intense.
I then take the next one, I take the distance from there to there, I divide it by that number, it gives me the next one. And so they get closer and closer and closer. Eventually, if I carry on down here, it will go to 0.
Is it 17.8 or 17,800?
17,816 is a long number, but it's rounded off to, I think it might be 17.817, I'm not sure. So and it works for any scale length, which is beautiful. So you can apply it to any instrument and do the same thing. Now, in our instrument, so that's a bit of theory about fretting.
So that's for like chromatic scale.
Yeah. Chromatic scale is your normal guitar, and that's got everything in it. All the majors, the flats, the works, the sharps, it's all there. This instrument, what we do now is we're not doing chromatic, we're doing a tuning called diatonic. Diatonic. And that means we've taken out all the minors. So if you look at a piano, we're only playing the white keys. And the same you can do, thank you, that you can do with a normal guitar is you can tune it down, you can tune it up. But if I look at it coldly, you know, when you're learning to sing, you sing the do, re, mi, do, re, mi. There it is. Diatonic. Okay. So, there's my saddle, there's the 0 fret, and this will be the 12th fret over here. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to do. Now, instead of taking...
Print out the saddle for me right quick.
Saddle is there, the white part is the saddle, and that's
Also
there.
known as a bridge, right?
No, that is the bridge, and the bridge facilitates the saddle. Okay. So, we will put the saddle in the right place, but we know approximately where it goes, because remember we put that bar underneath there to facilitate the saddle, because in this instant, we've almost got a floating bridge. Now, we could do a floating bridge here, but what happens is it's too smooth and the bridge will move easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the bridge in the right place. On the last day, we'll set up, we'll get this in the right place, and then we're going to mark it carefully, and then we're going to glue it in position. So what happens is, when it's too low, the bridge will move easily. If you bump it, it'll slide out of position. So we'll just put 2 drops of super glue on here to keep it in the right position. We'll set the bridge according to the 12th fret, which is how you build a guitar, by the way. You will make the guitar, and the bridge will be the last thing you fit. You fit the bridge in case your neck moves slightly when you're building it, that you now build it exactly to where the 12th fret is. So it always goes according to the 12th fret. Okay, so that's a bit of basic theory about fretting. So what we're going to do is, can I just give that to you to hold for me? Thanks. I have gone, to save us time, because to go and sit and measure and divide this up, we've got a huge margin for error. You'll make a mistake easily. If you cut the fret in the wrong place, believe me, this thing will not play properly. It just will not. It's critical that those frets are in the right place. If they're not, you'll hit the note, it'll have an off note, the instrument will be ruined. It won't work. And normally, what we do is, we work down. So we first measure, get that one will create that one will create that one, and so on. So if I make a mistake here, all of my frets are going to be out. So what I've done is, I've gone and made this tool. It's a little piece of perspex. It's got a center line. And it's got a center line on 2 places. You see it's been scratched over here. So that line that is scratched must go down on the guitar. And once I've got on the line, I'm going to choose where my 0 fret is. I put that on the 0 fret, and then I mark off the dots. So this thing will be passed around, so just come closer and have a look. So I check to see that line is resting nicely on my pencil line. And I draw a line, and that's my 0 fret. Now if you look, that line must be perpendicular to that one. You know what perpendicular means? The way to check it is if I take that and I turn it over and I just adjust for the parallax, that line is dead straight there. So it works. Okay. Now, once I've got that, right, so I'll get this thing set. On the 0 fret, and these dots are going to dictate exactly where my lines go. And I'll just put this somewhere. You can do this on your table. So now that is now fixed. It can't move. I'm on my 0 fret. I'll take this and I'll press it in. You don't want 100 dots here, because then you won't know what dot is dot. So make 1 dot only, if you can. Press it in. Don't go gorilla again, because it'll break my template. All you need to see is the dot. Right, now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots that you need in here, okay? Now take it off. I've got 3 of these. And so what you do is when you're finished with this, give it to the next person straight away so they can do it. And then what you do is you'll see it's got a line scribe down here. And I've marked the line off on either end. And that is cut exactly square to that line. So what I do is, again, I can put the line down, and I go to my first mark. Now this one is on the line. So what I do now is, and this takes quite a bit of, you will sit and do this. It'll be easier. I put that on the dot there. You can actually put my pencil in the dot. And I get in line, and I check both sides until I've got that line exactly on there, exactly on my fret line here, and I draw a line. There we go. Okay. There's my first fret line. First of all, from the edge here, you measure 4 millimeters, and that'll be where my line is. And then you draw. You don't have to draw the line like I've done there, just make a mark. This saw is designed to cut when you pull it towards you. The reason why is the blade's very thin, so if I'm pushing, I force it, the blade will bend, but if I'm pulling, the blade will stay straight. That can be used now just to hold my saw against the piece like that. Okay. So it can't move. And then all I do now is I cut that. Once I've got the groove, I'm holding the saw with my finger on top of the blade. So I cut now until it doesn't cut anymore, and you can see it running on the neck. Take it out, and there
Into the next one.
is my saw cut, beautifully cut in there for the fret. See it?
Looks just like the line.
Number 4.
There we go. You see how quick it is? Again. Okay, that's it. What I'm going to do now is I take my fret wire, and we're going to cut it now. When I cut the frets, I'm going to cut the fret, and I'm going to leave it a bit bigger, about maybe 2 or 3 mils or 4 mils bigger than the actual piece. So what I do is I hold it this side like this. I hold it on there. I take the cutter. I'll leave it 3 or 4 mil longer on the side. Take the cutter, push it against there, and I cut once, just like that. Finished. Okay. Right, so you see that these things in a bundle. Leave them in a bundle. And then I'm going to give you a single one that's a 0 fret. Glue the 0 fret in first. Okay. And I'll go and I'll put a drop of glue in there. 1, 2, 3. That's it. But make sure that it goes into the slot. All right? And I'll take the fret, and I'll get it in the corner. You can feel it, and I'll get it right. So I'll now just tap this. I hold it like that in place, and I'll give it a little tap in. Don't worry about getting it flat. I'll then take this, right? Put it on top, and I'll get my clamp correct.
You're going to do it one at a time.
Have to.
Got no choice.
Luckily, you didn't try and do all 8 with the super glue. Would have had a circus here. All right, and then I'll squeeze it down. Give it a nice clamp down. And there it is.
When it's going to slip like that, or is it? I mean, you're taking it out now.
No, leave it just like that. Where's the
Oh,
water?
yeah.
Maybe it's just a cemented note.
Water. We can actually tear these cloths in half, and you see these cloths. You see the cloths are full of holes. That's why they're full of holes.
It's supposed to be
Okay, now you can actually put that cloth in there, and then I'll clean it off.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I prefer the steel ones.
Okay. The one soaked in, it's the one.
That's it. Okay, so now watch what happens. Emmanuel, you like this now. Watch it. Okay, I can do that.
1, 2, 3. Oh, so
See, he's getting excited now because he can
so
see.
running scared now.
This looks, he'll be a mess. Come here, come here. Watch it.
Professor, you've been cold. You've been cold.
Okay, you can do a few at a time, and then I put it in. Now the hardest part is getting this fret in. So you make sure that it's down. Get it hooked in the. You get it hooked in the end. Put it down. Hold it. Either side. Give it a tap. Just a light tap in. Next one. The hardest part is getting that in. You get it hooked in the corner. Put it down. You feel if it's in or not. Eh? Tap down. Next one.
Boom, boom, yeah?
You're cutting those frets, eh?
Next one. And I'm only showing this for Emmanuel's sake that you can do more than one at a time. But he's not even watching it. Alright, now, now I go and I put that
From there.
on, resting on the other one. But I put my pressure
Okay.
on that one fret. Like that. Clamp it down. Next one. So all I have to do now is I take a light piece of paper,
Let it dry.
320, yeah, no, just like that, and I sand it again, and it's smooth again. Feel there. See, it comes out quick, 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 quick. Okay. So that's how easy it is to do the frets, and then we'll leave this now till tomorrow. Right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting these frets off now. Today's program, when we're cutting the frets, we're going to level the frets and then we're going to bevel them. This is called an end cutter. You see, it's a specially designed tool, and you put it against the neck and then you cut it off. Be very careful not to lift or pull down when you're doing it, because you'll pull your fret out before it's cut off, and then it'll bend it and it'll tear. You're going to be much stronger than what the glue in the groove is going to be. So it's a very careful cut. Take it like that. And then I'll just squeeze. Squeeze. If you can't manage it and like you're not strong enough, then you come and call me and I'll come and help you with it. These ones are going to be easier to use than the other ones because they've got a shorter handle, so they're a bit more difficult. Now, here it's quite tricky because you're very close to the to each other. Right, I'm going to cut the other side off. I'm going to throw these away in the bin now.
There's a bin right under you.
Oh, there's a one under. Great. Cut these off as well. If you hear it fall, find it. Don't think you'll come back to it later because you'll forget. And these things can cause a bit like serious damage, believe me. Right, so that's all cut off now. Right, so done. Now, then we take one of these things. It's called a file. Simple. It's been glued to a block. It's very simple. And it's not a magic glue that you use here. I just took a white glue and I put the file glued onto the block. You'll damage the one side of the file completely. You'll never be able to use it again unless you wash or soak it. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to, you guys can see from that side, I'm going to now follow the arrow, is the cutting direction. Okay, so you can use it like that or like that, but that'll be the cutting direction. That's the way file works. It's got little teeth and it cuts in one way, but the other way it'll just drag. Normally cleans out your slots. Don't push too hard in the first few strokes. You'll hear when it stops making a noise. This is the hardest one over here, this one right at the end. I'm going to have to lift it a bit like that, just to catch that end one. So if you battle with it, I'll come and help you with it.
Vertical.
Why?
At that point, what if I go vertical?
Because I've got no control this way, and I'll do this, and then I'll round it off. This must be perfectly straight. That's why it happens like that. But this one, because the guitar comes and it's got this curve here, it's, as I hit there, it pulls away. You see that?
Yeah.
So I lift it a bit, but I'm keeping the reference over here to keep me flat. I keep it like that just to make sure that I don't roll over like that. And as soon as you hear it does nothing, then you are, it's level. Now I've got the frets completely level. What you do now is you take masking tape, and in each part here, I put a piece of masking tape around each fret. It mustn't touch on the fret, because the thin ones, just tear a piece of masking tape into a slither like that. I'll get another roll of masking tape, so there's two floating around. Because just think about it now, if I put it on the fret, when I run that over the top, it's going to wind the masking tape off. So now, as I cut now, the file will start to hit the corner of the masking tape, and it'll show me where I'm cutting. So, let's begin. Over here, I've got more frets closer together than I have got over here. So these ones are going to cut faster because I've got more material to file off over here. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So, more attention here, less attention over there. And I watch that corner where I put the masking tape. I want to bevel it slightly to soften it for my hands, so when I'm playing it, it's not a sharp edge on my hands. When we finish with this instrument, there's going to be no sharp edges anywhere on it. I'm watching here that I don't hit this edge here, otherwise I'm going to file a... but I have softened the file there, so it shouldn't file off, but it might damage that a bit. It goes pretty quick. Right, and now I've softened that enough, and now the fret is starting to feel a lot better now, you see. It's still sharp, the fret's still sharp because it's been filed and it's clean. We're going to fix that up just now. Now remember, the first fret here is bigger, so it won't hit there the whole time, but it's not serious. There we go. So that is now the frets are leveled and they are beveled. And all we've got to do now is soften the frets, because it's still sharp and it's going to be very uncomfortable to play. I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to do one fret for you to show you what it's like, and then I'm going to show you the rhythm. You guys should be very good at rhythm. Okay. So I take the file and I put at 90 degrees to the fret, and I do the other side. And that's it. No more. Okay? So, and I'm not pushing hard, eh?
Yeah, just simple.
My rhythm now. I get in here and I go, remember I'm starting 90 degrees and then I roll. Roll. So I'm cutting there like that. 1, 2 is even enough. Okay, now if you like that rhythm, turn it around and I'll do this side. We're going to look at the bridge now from the end here, like that.
Yeah.
Alright. Sectional. Here it is. So currently it looks like this. It's got a little slot in there, like that. And there's the straight piece. You with me?
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at this piece here, specifically the tail, this tail of the bridge over here. You see it's cut rough. You see it there? It's not smooth. And if you put on your instrument like that, it's not going to look nice. I'm going to enlarge it now. So this here is the piece here that we're working with. We are now going to imagine we draw a line here about 1 millimeter up. And from there, I'm going to curve it. Like that. So essentially, it's now going to look like that. Square, square, curve. Got it?
The end piece, just that.
Just the end. Do not. That is right. This
middle piece now.
is wrong. Wrong. Got the idea? So I now take the clamp, and on a bench or your board, you clamp it like that. Okay. And now by eye, I'm going to, I'll get this thing in as close into the middle of the block as possible. All I do now is I'm using this like a file, and it doesn't take long. Okay, you might have to hold it. You see I'm rolling around, I get my angle, but be careful. When cutting a corner, okay, if I go and I sand a bevel, so there's my point that I want to start at, the millimeter, and I then go and put a bevel like that, and a bevel like that. Can you see I've taken away the opportunity for me to make the round? Does you understand that? I mustn't cut a bevel. What I'm going to do, rather, is I'm going to, there's my square, I'm going to cut that off, there's my millimeter mark, at an angle like that, and an angle like that, and then I round it off. You see that? If I bevel it first like that, I've got no material left to make a round. So I keep my action moving around the whole time. Watch my hand. See that? I'm not doing that. Alright, now take this down. And again, it doesn't take very long. And I watch my edges very carefully all the time to see that I don't make that sharp knife edge. Remember the one with the big crosses on it?
6.
Okay. 7. And once I've got my shape and all the saw marks out of there with this paper, and the other thing that you've got to do is you don't want to change the thickness of this. As it starts to come around and you lose all the saw marks, stop, done. Now I've made this thing so that as you, this is why this thing is a little bit wider, so that as your block is hitting this MDF, it's kind of stopping me going too far to make the sharp bevel edge. But the sandpaper, believe it or not, is quite strong. It will actually take away too much material. Right, now. Okay, so I've got my center line there, and I can draw a center mark anywhere in the middle here. So to there, and I draw. I don't have to draw the line all the way. I just need it over there. There's my center. I measure 16 from either side, and you can lift the ruler to get the 16. You see that it's not on the point. I can lift it till I hit 16, which is there, and 16, 10, 15, 16 there. So those are my 3 points. I must drill the first hole from the back, the bigger one. Because if I drill the smaller one first, then the other one's going to rattle around and won't be accurate. Yeah, see it. Pulls it to itself. Okay, perfect. No problem. Okay, so what you're going to do now,
Guys,
is you've got to actually fiddle a bit to find the hole. Okay. So once you get it lined up like that, it'll go in, and then you just take this screwdriver like that, and just push it in till it can't go anymore, and you'll see it'll come up at the right height. If it's a little bit too low, you must just
Press more.
there we go. You must get it down to the bottom. Okay. But
Okay.
push on your table, and then it should come out just below the surface of the wood like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And as I say, if not, then you can just give it a good. You hear that click? It's just tight at the end. Okay. And it should come out like that, flush.
Yeah, it is flushing this time.
All right. It must do because we drill them all the same height and like that. Okay, so get them in.
Cool. Can I pinch this on one time?
Okay, and then when you got them in, just borrow that one screwdriver and push them in. Right. By the way, using soft side now, not the hard side. Hard side won't sand that well. Be careful, this tends to hook in the hole, so you go around the hole carefully. But remember, it's been done on a machine. All you've got to get out there is the scratch lines from the sanding machine. So you get in here and you give this thing a good sand like that. Here, you'll also take this and you give this a good sand over here. This one's already done. So you sand that like that, and you can ride up here quite high with this thing, but that you have to do by hand. And this is an example of how nice it can be. See that? Really been sanded nicely. Now what I want to do on the frets is, you're going to sand the fret with the steel wool, and the only way you can really do it, you can do it two ways. You can come in with a grain, and I'll go over the steel or the metal, and I'll get that fretboard smooth, and that's smooth now. And now I'm going to go across. I'm going to polish the fret, but I'm only going to exert the pressure on the fret, if possible. Don't let it go over to the wood. And on the top of the fret, it doesn't have to be all round. I want to remove the lacquer.
I've got the H2. It's 5 mics. And
Mm.